and you can't even stop it if you wanted to, right?
Absolutely.
So that's how you really begin building. That's how you build wealth.
Right.
But it's about that type of thing, and that's what we show you in Mastermind the same way I've done it, and my other students and many of my colleagues do it as well. So with that, one thing we were talking about earlier was you and your siblings, and you said you guys were watching your dad and everything, and I talked about how my kids with the traditional real estate stuff, and it wasn't really intriguing.
Right.
But are they seeing you with this Airbnb stuff, and what are their thoughts on that? Your kids.
So my kids, they are, and they really, they're dialed in. They're dialed, because they have their own lives. My one son is in Arizona finishing up his MOS is Charlie Foxtrot. It's cyber intelligence. I'm looking at my wife. Cyber intelligence. And yet he's like, so Dad, as soon as things stabilize, I might want you to show me how to set something up once I get my duty station. All right, so and then my oldest one, who's basically, he's in DC this week. He'll be in California next week for his JOB. He sees the value of, okay, well, why would I just rent an apartment when I'm never around? Let me do rental arbitrage. I live in one room and let everyone else pay for my expenses. Oh, you're picking it up, son. So, even though we're really, in the, incremental baby, we're still crawling stages, our sons are really tuned in. And I think once they, start seeing mom get some of those things that she's deferred over all of these years, be able to go to a nice, space for a vacation, or be able to go back to Italy where her father's from. I think they're going to be, tuned right in because, unfortunately we live in a very much a microwave society. Where young people expect things to happen immediately, and we realize that's not really true. And even one of the things I share when I have intimate conversations with people from the academy, you guys are seeing a lot of me and Yvonne's wins. You're not seeing any of the losses that we took before we found Coach. So there's never an overnight success, but my kids, and that's really the point that I'm excited about, they're not seeing any of the ugly that me and my brothers witnessed when my dad was doing his real estate grind. They're seeing a lot of the wins. They're not seeing any of the uglies. So we're encouraged that they're going to, do what they have to do as young adults and figure out, hey, I don't like this boss thing. I'm not interested in this W-2 thing. Let's go talk to mom and dad. Let's figure this thing out.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I definitely can relate. I mean, as you know, all my kids they have their own Airbnb portfolios. They're all financially independent. They're all, they all do very, very well. And they're all
Coach, say that one more time. They're all financially independent.
Right. Yeah.
That's a blessing. That is a blessing.
When we talk about, again, by the grace of God, but, when we talk about, what's also this about for me, and I still want to know, like, where do you see in a year? Because I don't think you answered that question. So what this was about for me is also about changing generational cycles, right? And so when I think about, like, we just started having grandkids a couple of years ago. So our first grandchild, my oldest daughter, Taina, and my son, son-in-law, Chris, they had their first child 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. And, by the grace of God, and they had their second child 8-9 months ago, 10 months ago, something like that. Right. And so little Christopher, my little man, and then my other little man, little Noah James, Noah James Robert, right? He they've never seen their parents working for someone.
Wow. That is awesome.
And by the grace of God, they never will have to.
Wow.
Right? And that, that's pretty special. It's pretty special in its own right. If meaning they're financially independent.
Right.
They're in Florida now. We're in, they got, multiple listings as well. And, they do very, very well for themselves. Most of their listings are in New York. They're not even in New York. They've been in Florida for the last 4 months. They're not in New York. Those things are operating, doing their thing, and it's still growing. Here in Florida, they got some stuff down here. We did some things down here together as well, right? And they're they've given them exposure to certain things that, honestly, those kids have gotten exposure to stuff that I hadn't seen for my first 15, 20 years, honestly. And so again, it's about resources and not just financial.